what's going on backstage at the Corona Theatre in Montreal, and I'm with Dennis from Refused. For me, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. This is the first time I'm interviewing you. We've chatted a couple of times. But
I always thought those were interviews. No,
no, there weren't interviews.
Just kidding.
It's really, really cool to see you guys come out with an album like War Music, because to me, this is exactly what I think a lot of the world needs right now, is some rebellion. It just seems people are very, very passive about what's going on in the world, and we need people to be a little angrier.
Yeah.
Was that important to you guys putting the record together?
Yeah, it was. And I mean, it's always been like any project I have, it's always been important to sort of speak your voice and talk about stuff that matters. But I mean, in these times, the political landscape and everything goes on can be really overwhelming for people, which I understand, because it's such a storm of information. It's so much going on. So I understand that a lot of people get kind of overwhelmed by it. But we wanted to make a soundtrack to the times we live in, basically. We're like, we looked at the world and like, what type of music would summarize these times?
Right.
And I think War Music kind of does that.
It seems like you guys found more solid footing on this record. It seemed like Freedom was like you jump back into it, and this one seemed like you guys were more in the driver's seat.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense. I think that there are aspects of Freedom and the parts of Freedom that are incredible. And the way it came together and the way we did it, I mean, it was an important record for us to make. And any creative thing that you do leads to another thing. So I think that after 14 years of not being a band, to make Freedom, it was needed.
Right.
We needed to make that record to end up with War Music. And so yeah, but I think that it gave us more of a palette or a blueprint that we're like, okay, this works. This is what Refused should do 2019, 2020, you know.
Right.
So it made sense, yeah.
One of my favorite songs on War Music is I Want to Watch the World Burn. Just the fact that the message is so poignant. It's so angry, but at the same time, it's wrapped up in such a melodic chorus that people can sing along to.
Yeah.
Is that new territory for you guys?
Well, for Refused,
For Refused, not necessarily for you.
No. Yeah, I don't think that was intentional. I think you just write songs and you write lyrics that kind of resonate with you, and then that happened to be a really hooky chorus.
Yeah, which is nice, because it's like, you know, for you guys, it's you to me, Refused have always been kind of almost like a musician's band. Like you like it's almost like proggy hardcore, right?
Yes, it makes sense.
So to be able to have something that like has an earwormy is was interesting. But then when you listen to the lyrics, it's it's Refused the whole way.
It is.
Lastly, Shape of Punk to Come. You know, bands in their careers put out records that are little gems. And you know that. I mean, like, the Shape of Punk to Come is one of those records that changed a lot of things for a lot of people.
It's a big gem.
What's it like? What's it like for you to know that you were a part of a record? Because you know, bands have these records that just change things. Yeah. And that was one of them. Do you look back on that with fond memories, or?
I mean, now I do.
Like, what headspace were you guys in when you did that?
I mean, it was horrible. We didn't like each other.
Right.
We didn't like anything. It was. I mean, so for a long time, because the record came out, the process of recording was kind of bad. We didn't get along, and we went on tour, and touring was horrible. We hated each other, and we broke up. You know, and we broke up in failure. We broke up thinking like, oh, no one liked this record, and then like a month after we broke up, like, you know, it started showing on MTV, and you know, and we're like, oh wow, so. For a long time, it was like this, almost a curse for me. I'm like, oh, we did this record that I have no fond memories of. Yeah. But now that's shifted. I mean, I think the record is fantastic. Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, to be a part, as you said, like most of us, we play music, we do a bunch of records, and we fade into obscurity, which is kind of like the deal. That's kind of what we sign up to do. But then to be able to be a part of a record that 22 years later, people still talking about it. Yeah. It's a privilege. It's a beautiful thing, and then, as you said, it had an impact on a lot of other people, and a lot of musicians come up to me and they're like, "Oh, we heard that record," and it's a very humbling and very, very beautiful thing. You know? Well,
it's like, you know, I imagine it's what Mike Patton goes through when people talk to him about Angel Dust and the real thing. So, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Because that's a record that I can still put on today. Yeah. And feel exactly like I did when it first came out, and I said to myself, why didn't I get to see that band? But at least now people can see it.
Yeah, now people can see it.